Hi, friends. Host Eric here, host talking to Spanish people. Got a message for you this morning. Don't put that in my butt. What are you doing? I said, don't put that in my butt. It's pretty much, it doesn't even matter what it is. That's pretty much that statement is always going to apply. Like, let's say I'm at the library and the librarian is trying to give me my books I checked out. That sentence would apply. Don't put that in my butt. I'll carry it in my hand. At the grocery store yesterday, I got groceries. Instead of asking me if I wanted a bag, they just started to put it in my butt. I said, don't put that in my butt. I need a bag and a shopping cart, please. Yeah, it's a beautiful title because I can only think of one circumstance really in which the sentence is not true. Now there is a circumstance which is not true in which I say, yes, do put that in my butt. And that circumstance is if I am boofing Adderall. When boofing Adderall, that sentence is false. Okay, but other than that, it's like always true. Things come out of my butt. I'd rather they not go into my butt. And as a general rule, except as I said, there's that one exception. When boofing drugs, and sure, yeah, there's nothing wrong with boofing drugs. Okay, but your butthole is like your nasal membrane of your bottom part. It's the same sort of thing. You can snort stuff with your butthole. I don't know if you're aware of that. Now, the only challenging part about snorting stuff with your butthole is the inhaling part. Um, it is a treat. This is a treat. But no matter how treated you feel, J Law, don't put that in my butt. Okay? That's the message I'm trying to get across here. I am tired of everybody trying to put things in my butt. Okay? In Dungeons and Dragons, they had this object called a bag of many holdings. And it was a bag that, even if you fill it up, it would still have more room in it because it was magical. That's kind of like my butt. It's a bag of many holdings. Even so, don't put that in my butt. That's my bag of many holdings. What sort of things do I put in my butt normally? Well, nothing really, except every once in a while, when I'm feeling adventurous, I will boof an Adderall. What does it mean to boof an Adderall? It means you take the pill, ideally, you put on a glove or something, and you push the pill up your butthole. Why? Why would you want to do that? Well, because the inside of your butthole is the same as the inside of your nose. It bypasses the blood-brain barrier. Or, I mean, not the blood-brain barrier. It bypasses the digestion process. So you don't have to metabolize the pills. You know? Well, that's my point, is Kiera Louise. It could be, for me, the sentence is true for just about in every instance, except for boofing pills. That's the one exception I can come up with. Although I have indicated to Rachel, and I'm serious about it, that I would like to get a little bit of prostate massage up in the mix here. Just this general prostate health consideration. So maybe I won't have to get up and pee so often during the night. Although I have to say, I got a good solid 4 hours of sleep without having to get to pee last night, which is nice. You know, some nights it's like every 2 hours. Some nights I can crash out for 4 or 5 hours before I start to get up and pee. Regardless, don't put that in my butt. Is unless you have an Adderall pill on the tip of your finger, that sentence is always going to be true. And even if you do have an Adderall pill on the tip of your finger, unless you're Rachel, the sentence is still true. Don't put that in my butt. There's a couple of just general reasons why you shouldn't put that in my butt. One of them is that's where my poop lives. You want to put things where my poop lives. Speaking of poop, I had such a big poop just like right before I started this. I had just this really big, satisfying poop. Yeah. So, like when Katie hurt her foot, for example, we need to take her to the vet. And I said, okay, well, let's get her into what was Rachel trying to do? Or I could even say cat carrier. She was trying to put the cat in my butt. I said, don't put that in my butt. That's not where it goes. General advice for INTPs trying to get good at FE and SE. First of all, INTP Kiara Louise, you're probably already good at FE. INTPs have quite successful FE. They tend to be kind of like kids in the sense that they respond really well to praise and encouragement, and they respond generally poorly to kicks in the ass. So, there are two kinds of people in the world: pat on the back people and kick in the ass people. As a coach, I can clearly delineate that there are two kinds of students, debaters who need a kick in the ass and debaters who need a pat on the back. Well, I don't know if she's a real INTP or not, but she self-identifies as one, or she wouldn't ask about INTPs. The advice I always give to both INTPs and INFPs when they ask about how to be more productive and have better SE, stop watching YouTube videos about how to be more productive. Number one answer on the board is YouTube has no answers for you. I have no answers for you. The key to SE is to stop deliberating about it and just do shit, right? For example, I realized I had my SE in the mix like last night, this morning. I've been supposed to be, for a long time now, I was supposed to make this video, I guess you'd say it's a video, but it's basically a slideshow of our Hawaii pictures. And I'm going to make it for my mom for Mother's Day, and yeah. How do you become my next INTP protege? Well, you just hit me up at the right time to, you say like, hey, I want to join you on this typing session or something. And if I'm doing one and you say, okay, sure. It's like, I don't care. But the problem is I'm not very easy to schedule with because I'm kind of all over the place with my schedules and stuff. I typed Octavio Silva last night. I got to tell you, I was a little surprised. Octavio Silva. If you were imagining a bandito-looking Mexican with a big handlebar mustache and a sombrero, that's not what he looks like. Let me just tell you that right now. He is, however, an ISFP. And so my doubts about the ISFP hood of Octavio Silva were unfounded. Entirely unfounded. As soon as I started asking questions, it was clear that, yes, ISFP, you've typed yourself correctly, Octavio Silva. I am sorry for doubting you. No, he didn't want to record it. Just me and Rachel talking. If you really want to know a secret, since I wasn't sworn to secrecy about this or anything, I'm going to tell you guys all a secret. Kind of a big secret. Octavio Silva is a girl. Okay? He's not a dude at all. He's a girl. So, I don't know why he calls himself Octavio Silva. I also refer to him as he anyway, because as far as I'm concerned, you're your name on YouTube. When I meet you in person and you say, oh, I'm actually named Jeff. No, you're not named Jeff. As far as I'm concerned, you're the internet slayer, or whatever your name is on the internet, Yeah, she's a girl. She's like a 20-year-old girl or something. 21, 22, somewhere in there. She's youngish, young lady. Attractive young lady. So It's cool to meet people like that, though. You know, I talk to Octavia Silva so often in the live chat. Octavia Silva is always hooking me up in the live chat too, which I like. You know, like copy and pasting and shit that I need to copy and pasted, and maybe that tarot guide, which I really appreciated. And then when I actually talk to her, she's not what I pictured in my head. You know, because people, I go with the name. It's not Octavia Silva. It sounds like some sort of Spaniard or something, right? Yeah, that is strong, SE. Strong. You know, it's like, I always think, yeah, I'd call you Vainamoinen. What? I assume that's your name. Your name's Vainamoinen. My name's Host Eric. You know? It may not be on my birth certificate, but that's my name. Horse Mumbler is still Horse Mumbler, no matter what. He's told me his name now multiple times. I think it's Jordan. But I will never think of him as Jordan. He will always be Horse Mumbler to me. Winston's mom. I'll share another little secret to you. Her name rhymes with Persephone. Okay? That is to say, it's Stephanie. I'll never call her Stephanie. She's Winston's mom, goddammit. And that's it. Just to stay that forever. Let's see, who else? Neptune. I never call Neptune Brandon. Vainamoinen? Vanamoinen. Well, you see, Vainamoinen, you are named Vainamoinen because that's how I pronounce your name. Just like Enneagram is pronounced Enneagram rather than Enneagram because that's how I pronounce it. Also, like, let's look at Kankan Krishna Sarmapagu. Her name is properly pronounced just like that. Kankan Krishna Sarmapagu. Or let's look at Sruti Chandran. Some people think her name's pronounced Shruti or something like that. No, Sruti is pronounced Sruti. Her name's Sruti Chandran. So, you know, I am helping everybody in the world to know how to pronounce their own names. And your name, Vainamoinen, is Vainamoinen. Okay? Vainamoinen and Roosmoose sitting in a tree. Scandivia. See what I'm saying? You and Roosmoose are both Scandinavian. Vainamoinen, let me see what that says. Kankan Krishna Sarmapagu. Vainamoinen Kankan Krishna Sarmapagu. Do you know what Zandy's name is? I learned this yesterday. Zandy's name is actually Zandibel. I shit you not. Zandibel. Who names their kid Zandibel? You better be like the 30th kid if your name's Zandibel. We were totally running out of names. I like it though, Zandibel. She's got weird parents named her Zandibel. Yeah. But I like it. I think I'm going to name a future pet after Zandy. It's a good name for a pet, Zandy. You know? Zandifrid is the full name. Zandifried. Oh, yeah. What's up with Zandy's parents? They named her Zandibel. It's not like a middle name. It's not Zandy Bell. It's Zandy Bell is her name. That's possible, Vainamoinen. China is an asshole, Overclocker? Well, let me tell you something, Overclocker. China's a little bit on my shit list, okay? I've got this video in which I explain in no uncertain terms to China why they cannot take over Taiwan. And all these Chinese nationals put comments on this video. And you know what? They disagree with me. And they disagree with me for very stupid reasons. It's not okay to be that stupid in your reasoning. So that's why I'm mad at China right now. They all say the same stupid ass shit. They say, well, but America did, yeah. This isn't. If America did yeah, then America shouldn't have done yeah. And that was wrong. Just like I'm saying it's wrong of China to do yeah. Or Hong Kong, right. But I mean, Hong Kong, at least there's a legal justification for it. In other words, they got that. But that's not how you spell it, Winston's mom. It's BEL at the end of Zandy. One word, Zandabel. China got the lease. Britain had the lease on Hong Kong until 2001, and then China took it over, and that was in keeping with the legal plan. Taiwan, if there were to be any actual following of the legal realities regarding Taiwan and China, Taiwan should be taking over China, not the other way around. Taiwan is the seat of the nationalist government that was ousted illegally by the communist coup of Mao Zedong. So, no, China. Sorry, fuck off. Also, I've been to both Taiwan and China. Taiwan's super cool. China is China. It's like, oh, yeah. Can you stop being so China, please, for a minute? If you're an expat in China and you hang out with other expats over, there's an expression called China Day. Hey, how's it going? China Day. What does that mean? It means you run into the invisible barriers that comprise Chinese culture, which is nobody has any initiative to do anything because everybody's trying to make sure they're obeying the person above them, deferring. And it's like if you're trying to get hired to do something in China, forget about it because you're not going to be empowered to do the thing you're hired to do. I had this experience when I was putting on a debate tournament at a private boarding school in Wuxidong, which is 45 minutes by bullet train from Shanghai. I needed answers. They wouldn't let me make the decision on things like, okay, well, let's do it this way. Whoa, no. You need to talk to Dr. Whoever. Well, he's not the one putting this shit on. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. I'm the one who knows what I'm doing. He doesn't. Yeah, you have to. Okay, well, can I talk to him? Oh, he's very busy. We can't talk to him right now. Okay, well, I need this piece of information or I need to be empowered to make the executive decision here. Like I would at any other normal debate tournament, because I'm running the debate tournament. If you're running tab, as it's called in a debate tournament, you basically are the head guy of the tournament, no matter what. It's just how it rolls in every tournament in America. Whoever's hosting the tournament and putting it on and running tab, they're in charge of the tournament. They make all the decisions and blah, blah, blah. Not in China. And I mean, they really created a clusterfuck of a judge problem for me because they wanted to run this bilingual debate format in which they have to give some speeches in Chinese and some in English, among the other formats that we ran. We ran other normal formats, but they wanted to run this bilingual one. It was just before my divorce. So about 7 years ago, about 41, 42. Tab, they still have tab. Don't they, Winston's mom? My dad used to drink it. Now he drinks Diet Coke. He doesn't drink sugar sodas. He prefers the taste of fake sugar, I guess. Oh, I feel very peaky all of a sudden. It'll pass. I just took my pills. Yeah, I feel sick to my stomach. Let me put a song on for you to listen to while I'm settling my stomach. Oh, it was awful. It was about that. I don't remember the exact distance, but over time. It's just the Adderall and coffee and cigarettes first thing in the morning. I have my puking, It could be morning sickness. You're right, Lantern-esque. The thing is, I always remember my current sort of morning nausea that I get periodically is absolutely nothing. I know what it feels like to feel awful in the morning. Back when I was a drunk, I used to like puke just about every morning, or at least have this whole dry heap thing. I just felt awful all the time. It was terrible. So this bad feeling of nausea is a temporary thing as my stomach gets used to the pills. It takes about 20 minutes for them to settle. My stomach settle back down. The thing is, I'm not talking smack about China. I'm just trying to hold them to the same standard I hold everybody else. Type Xi Winnie Jinping? Okay. Or you mean personality type that person? Or you mean type it into Google? Oh, that guy. Oh, Xi Jinping. China bans Winnie the Pooh. Oh my God. PewDiePie. China banned me for comparing Xi Jinping to Winnie the Pooh. I mean, the thing is, I have no idea what personality type he is. So, yeah, I can't eat first thing in the morning, Lantern-esque. Hi, Neptune. I would drink usually about a pint, between a half pint and a pint of liquor, plus maybe a beer or two. You know what? That's the first time I've heard that pun or even thought about it, Winston's mom. I appreciate it. It may seem like low-hanging fruit, but that's exactly the sort of fruit I tend to ignore with my fifth spot NI. So no, that's actually news to me, that little pun there. I enjoyed the Type Police video too. I enjoyed making it, and it felt nice to make it. I that's the thing. It's like Type Police videos started to feel kind of dirty to me after a while, because it's like, that's not me. I know what people want from those things, which is, generally speaking, they want to see somebody who just basically doesn't care about other people's feelings. It's like, I remember I've heard plenty of times things like, God, I don't know, I would never do that. You got to really have some balls to do it. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. You're telling people your cherished self-concept is bullshit. And that bothers people. That's the problem. It's like the amount of hurt feelings and pushback and whammy I get from Type Police videos, it makes it not worth it. Yeah, I typed him. I typed Octavio Silva yesterday. I got a secret for you. He's a girl. You can suck it. I mean, I don't type randomly, mostly because it's just a moot exercise, It's like I can't actually type somebody until I talk to them directly and back and forth. But so that's why arguments about type that don't involve asking the person questions and stuff comprise the very textbook definition of the word moot. It's moot arguments. The question is moot. Anybody remember that Saturday Night Live skit with what was his name? Jesse Jackson? I'll still call him because his name's Octavio Silva. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a boy's name. But it's not like she's gender bending at all, okay? She's a straight up girl. No, I don't use visual identification heuristics when typing people, except I will say this. When I typed Octavio Silva, one of the reasons I gave her for why she's not possibly a INTJ is, I said, what? No, you smile way too much to be an INTJ. INTJs generally don't smile or frown. Just flat mouth. I can't even do it. Flat mouth. INTJs have flat mouth syndrome, where both smiling and frowning are frowned upon, but only metaphorically. That's a good question, Brandon. Well, my biggest self-concept build moment, demolition or whatever, occurred when I quit drinking. But even then, it wasn't really self-concept destruction or anything. It was more like an acceptance that I can't force self-concept narratives. I can't force anything, really. It's one of the advantages of being with an NI Dom is Rachel helps me to remember I can't force things. I try to force things, but that's just my nature. I'd always been an unhealthy drinker. That doesn't mean there wasn't stretches in my life early on when I was able to have some good experiences without it running away from me. But even then, like the first time I drank, I was in seventh grade. It was a family Thanksgiving dinner. My cousins were allowed to have a little bit of wine with their Thanksgiving dinner. So I got my parents to say yes to this too. Now, my cousins each had like a little bit of wine at the bottom of a glass, and every time people were looking away, poured myself more, stuck more into my glass. This is the first time I ever drank. Okay. And I was the drunkest person at the Thanksgiving dinner. My parents had to send me outside because I was so drunk. And then I got on a horse and rode around. And then the next morning, my dad said, "You need some coffee, Tylenol?" I was like, I don't feel well. And then that was it. It was never spoken of again. I remember being like attracted to my cousin when I was drunk too on the horse, thinking, she's pretty. Yeah, I was always an unhealthy drinker. I had a long-standing habit of, let's say there was a great party starting at 9 o'clock. I'd be out by 9 because I started drinking at 8 and I'd be done by 9. Drinking does consume shit tons of hours. The problem with it is it's not a drug that you can do anything productive on, or at least I can't do anything productive on it. I'm not going to make any music when I'm drinking. I might jam out, but I'm not going to do the work that's required. It makes you sloppy. It makes you self-indulgent, and makes me. That's what it does to me, I should say. And of course, the other thing is, it's not just the drunken part. It's the fact that recovering from alcohol takes a long time. There's not really any hangover for any of the drugs that I do now, which is the two drugs that I do now, which are marijuana and Adderall. Adderall has something like a hangover in that if you don't sleep a lot for a while, you can get slonkers. I've gotten slonkers plenty of times. I never get as slonkers as Rachel gets slonkers. Well, here's the thing, Overclocker. There are plenty of people in the world who use alcohol well and don't have a problem with it, and it's a nice addition to their life. I am not one such person. I have come to understand in complete fullness that alcohol, one of the impacts, Ritalin is dirty Adderall, basically. Okay. Slonkers is so sleepy that you're bonkers. It's like hangry. There's slonkers. Shirritated is so needing a shower that you become irritated. There's hangry. There's also disorganized. That's frustrated because of your disorganization. I mean, the thing about alcohol and that quality of things, alcohol is not predictable for me regarding that. It might be the case that with exactly the right amount of alcohol in me, that I would absolutely fucking kill it more than with no alcohol in me. It might be the case, but it's impossible for me to manage that particular medication. You call that a point, using it for performance enhancing drug kind of thing. Well, there's no doubt that Adderall is a performance enhancing drug for all the things that I want to perform. And marijuana is basically not much of anything. It's mostly like cigarettes, kind of. It's like another kind of cigarettes. I enjoy drinking because it makes my sense of time more accurate or something. Everything doesn't feel like it's all happening at once anymore. Well, I know, Brandon, that one of the reasons I liked drinking was because it allowed me to comfortably watch television. So all of a sudden, instead of having to get up every second, constantly being distracted, and you're constantly being antsy, not distracted, but antsy. I could just settle in and watch like some like Friends or just, and that was nice. I enjoyed being able to relax. Alcohol used to, for a while, be the thing that allowed me to relax. No, it's not a disease. Does it function as a disease would? No, it has no qualities of a disease. It's a dopamine management disorder. Types most likely to abuse substances: action types, SE-DOMs and NE-DOMs. Probably followed by action tool function users. Well, I mean, it also depends on how you react to it in general. I've heard that there are two kinds of reactions to alcohol. Some people, when they drink alcohol, it immediately starts to have kind of the depressive effect of alcohol. Those people don't typically have any problems with alcohol. The other kind of people, when they have their first drink, it gives them an energizing effect. And then after a few more drinks, then they start to have the depressive effect of it. So in other words, if you have a drink and you're like, fuck yeah, let's go, we're ready to roll, let's rock and roll, then you're going to be an alcoholic. Right? That was me. Woo! When I drank one drink. And then, of course, after 6 or 7, it's like, oh. But the point is, my initial response to it is to be energized by it. And I've heard that people who have that response to it are more likely to become alcoholics. But, keep in mind, alcoholic is a term like ADHD. It's not a real thing. It's just a shorthand for somebody who fails to consume alcohol well. The disease idea is stupid, but I understand why it exists. Because the main problem for most people who have a drinking problem is mourning its death. For me, to quit drinking entirely, I had to actually come to terms with the fact that I wasn't ever going to drink again. I had to mourn its death. And really, truly make a decision and understand that there's no getting out of the decision. It was just like as though I was stuck on an island where there's no alcohol available. I have to come to terms with it. And I've always been able to do that. I've always been able to, with any drug or alcohol, there's this period of time that happens with drugs where it's like, ooh, somebody comes over, let's get Coke tonight. And you go, oh, okay, we're getting Coke tonight. And then we call the guy who, my friend knows some guy who's got Coke. We call him and, okay, it's going to be in an hour. And then you go an hour and, well, let's call this other guy. It doesn't take me very much of that scrambling around looking for drugs to be like, okay, fuck it, we're not getting it. I'm removing it from my mind as something that I'm looking forward to and putting it into the part of my mind where it goes, that didn't happen. I can't sustain is it not for very long without just going, okay, fuck it, we're not getting it. I don't want to play Feeny chase drugs around guy. Well, what I want you to do, Winston's mom, is watch videos of Rerun and learn how to dance from him. He is somebody who I was watching yesterday and thinking, I would like to learn to dance like him. Yeah, alcohol requires no chase. It's readily available. And, but the reason I mentioned that, the Feeny part, is you got to have that capacity to do that with alcohol permanently, to go, okay, the connect's not coming through. It's just not going to happen. I'm eliminating it from my mind as something that's on the map. So I can do that with drugs whenever I having trouble getting them. I mean, I haven't tried to get drugs like that in a while, but, alcohol, I had to do it on a permanent basis. Like, okay, all the drug dealers have died, so I'm never going to get to hook this shit up again. Yeah, rerun from what's happening, right? Listen as well. What you need to learn to do is the Gangnam Style dance, Winston's mom. Oppa Gangnam Style. Hi, John Henry. Ride the pony, you know. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2. Like that. No, it's a statement that's almost always true for me. So basically, there's very, very, very slim chance that you're going to be trying to put something in my butt, and I'm not going to say, "Don't put that in my butt." I can only come up with one real potential reason why that sentence might not be true, or I might not say that. And that's if one thing that I think is fine with putting up my butt is something Brandon actually taught me. Brandon, I want to thank you for teaching me this important lesson. Brandon is the one who taught me that it is okay to put drugs up your butt. It's called boofing, and your butt is like a nasal membrane that doesn't make you sneeze. Well, I don't want the doc. I mean, it's fine. I'll accept it. I might still be thinking, don't put that in my butt, but I'll have to accept it if need be. But the other possible thing is, if I could get, I'm planning on getting some sort of little tool to enable Rachel to give me a prostate massage. Why? Well, I think, it'll help my prostate. That's why. Not that my prostate is causing me huge problems. It's just I'd like to be able to sleep 8 hours a night without having to get to pee. Now, that's really ambitious. But if I could even get 6, I got 4 before I had to get to pee last night. That's pretty good. Yes, Brandon, you taught me to boof. Not in person, maybe remotely via the internet. You had remote access to my butthole computer. Kegel exercises work? It's okay. That's a good question, Lantern-esque, and I want to answer it. What cognitive function relates to you saying F it to drugs if you have to wait? It's not if I have to wait. It's I had a couple of experiences. I think it has to do with SI. I had a couple of experiences getting drugs when I was young where I would go all out to try to get it. My first connect, I expected. It's all about expectations. When I hear, okay, so he's got it? Yeah, we're definitely going to be able to get it tonight? Cool. All right, good. Now, if it doesn't come through, I'm fiendy as fuck because I've got it fully in my expectations that I'm going to get it, right? So what that is, it's like I remember experiences of playing Drug Chaser and not liking it. Yeah, Rachel painted my nails green last night. This hand. This hand doesn't have any on it. And I really disliked that because, of course, that's double disappointment, right? You're having to do all this running around, which is disappointing because you don't want to make all these calls and run around. Blah, blah, blah. You'd rather do something fun. And then you don't end up getting it anyway. No, I'm just not doing that again. And so at a certain point, I learned to turn off fiendiness when it became clear that the likelihood of actually getting the drugs tonight was low. Of course, you can't fiend for something tomorrow. That avoids the definition of fiending. So if I say, fuck it, I'm not going to get it tonight, that means I don't want it at all until next time I do want it. The wanting period's over. It's, the open enrollment window has closed. What am I looking for? The bong. There it is. I gotta spice things up a bit here on my nails. Here's how you know I have a problem with alcohol. I was never able to keep alcohol in the house. I could never, I never get ahead with alcohol. Like, you imagine living super paycheck to paycheck and you're always totally broke at the end of every month. That's how I was with alcohol. I never had, I could never get enough of it so that if I had more of it, I'd drink faster, you know? I gotta improve my fingernails. Okay, I'll show you my masterpiece in a second. See, I improved them by making little faces on them. Now, how cool are they? Here's the thing, Neptune, Brandon. The reason people die from fentanyl and other kind of shit like that, they OD on, painkillers and so forth, is that there's no legitimate way to abuse those drugs. And there needs to be a legitimate way to abuse a given drug, any drug, because if you can't legitimately abuse it, then it will always be illegitimately abused. A long time ago, when people first started realizing they were like drug addicts, like before they made it difficult to get painkillers, this stuff called Laudanum used to be available over the counter. And basically it was opium or heroin or something. And as people started getting addicted to it, the norms didn't change. It was like there was once a time when being addicted to heroin was not an excuse to behave, inappropriately. So that's changed somehow. And it's unfortunate because we need to understand that there are a lot of drug addicts in the world, people addicted to all kinds of different shit. And we have to understand that everybody has their own relationship with their addictions. And their addictions are not necessarily to drugs, it could be to whatever, but it's part of your temporal bargaining arrangement. You make deals with yourself. Okay, I'm going to do some Molly, let's say, but I'm not going to do it again for 6 months because I'm worried about how it affects my spinal fluid. Nicolay Shea, yo, yo, yo. I did the John Beebe's thing and it worked. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So yeah, what's up? What John Beebe's thing? What John Beebe's thing did you do? So the point is, because you can't legally get those drugs in any way, or legitimately, by most people's understanding, get those drugs, you're going to have circumstances where people cut their coke and Molly with, well, look, Molly and E are the same thing. Cut their ecstasy with cocaine and fentanyl. I did ecstasy like 4, 5, 6 times, maybe. Only one time, I think I got real ecstasy. Or at least if I gotten real ecstasy any other time, it was weak compared to the one time I got real ecstasy. I had genuine, full blast, real strong ecstasy or Molly one time, and it was It was like I say it is. You feel like an angel. Everything is absolutely amazing. You're a forest ranger? That is such a cool job. We went to Joshua Tree and camped in the desert down there. And the forest ranger came and told us, my group of people that I was with, that we had too many cars for the number of camping spaces we had. Right? You only have 2 cars per camping space. And so, yeah, my friends and stuff were trying to talk to the forest ranger about this problem and resolve it. Meanwhile, I was going up to him and going, "You're a forest ranger? That is such a cool job. You must totally love that." And my friend's like, "Okay, Eric, come on. Stop bothering the forest ranger. He's here to bust us." But oh my God, could you imagine being a forest ranger? Forest ranger's looking at me like, "What? What's up with homie here?" That's such a good question. It's like the light of angels is shining on me when I hear that question. If I'm going to compare decades, I will say the 70s to me, when I think back about the 70s, it ended with us camping there. And, that was when I was with my first wife. And the only thing it was like the only thing that I couldn't love unconditionally on ecstasy was her. I remember this moment in the tent and I was like, "Oh, let's touch each other and stuff." And she was like her normal, weird, awkward, neurotic self. And I was just like, "God, I hate this woman." No, it's the desert. Yogi and Boo Boo are in places with forests. I think, well, I'm not sure if she was an ISFP or INFP, probably ISFP. There's a couple of things about her that made me think she was a little ideational for an ISFP, maybe, but I think that was just her taste and stuff, not actually making things. For me, the 70s are a time, I think of this song I wrote. I was married for about 3 years um, and together for about 4. We got married really fast. Every time we did Molly at an event, I would gather small crowds and preach about positivity and connection. Um, the 70s are, I think it is, a time when the world was wide and empty. I remember my childhood as being, I grew up right here, as the same as now, except much less crowded. Familiar and open, empty. So I think about the 70s as being. The 80s, I think of as, that's the bulk of my formative years. I was 9 years old in 1980. I was 18 at 89. So I graduated from high school in 89. So the 80s were my adolescent years, my transition from childhood to adulthood years or adolescence. And I will say about the 80s, it was a weird decade because I definitely had Straight Outta Compton, shortly after it came out, whenever that was. My friend Dave Porter and I were both totally in love with that album. It was like the first rap album either of us had ever heard or anything. And I'm not sure how I came across it, but yeah, I got Straight Outta Compton. And we bumped that shit at Dave's apartment in Pasadena. We get drunk and bump that shit. So I do want to go back to the 80s. The 80s, I think of as a time where like the physical comforts of the world had been maximally attained, as they still are. They haven't really gotten any more attained since then. But the metaphysical aspects of the world were shockingly behind the physical aspects. So it's like the 80s were the last time in the world when space magic was meow and time magic was meow. Yeah, John Beatty did self-analysis by dreaming of his cognitive functions as characters in a Bruce Campbell-style narrative structure. Right. That's an NI approach. That's very archetype-based, metaphor-based, and not process analysis-based. Now, note, INFJs, especially, will be right all the time, even though they're doing things from my perspective, the wrong way, you know? The 80s was very distinct. You feel like everything kind of turned mishmashy after that. Well, back in the 80s, it was the very last gasp of self-segregation. So, like, when I was in school, it was still the case that, you know, the kids would group themselves based on one of their cliques. And so part of that was which genre of music you like. And everybody had to be with one of those. So I liked heavy metal, you know. And that means I hung out with the metalers, but I didn't really dress heavy metal. The problem is I didn't really follow these social norms very well, but they were quite absolute. There were a few people like me who floated, you know, and I didn't float. I tried not to float, but I ended up floating anyway. So from my perspective, childhood in the 80s was about old shit that should have been jettisoned long ago that still persisted into the 80s, and no new shit yet that began in the 90s. So, for example, when I went to middle school in 7th grade, the first thing that we had to do and learn about middle school was, okay, boys, everybody gather around here in the gym. Now listen, this is how PE is now that you are in middle school. You will come into the locker room. You will take off all of your clothes. You will put on your PE clothes. That includes your jock strap, your PE pants, and your PE shirt. At the end of PE class, we end 15 minutes before the end of class. We do not do that so you can play around. You are to come in here. You are to undress entirely. You are to get into that shower and clean yourself with soap. Everybody must have deodorant and put it on after their shower. So it's like there's adults in there in a room full of boys, some of whom are prepubescent still, some of whom are full blast men, okay? And saying to all this huge group of middle schoolers, all of you strip and you get into those group showers over there. They had this big thing with like shower heads that come up like this. Pow, 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 pow. You know, like one person on each side of the pole, all open. There's no privacy of any sort. And you have no choice. Now, that's a holdover from the bad old days, right? There was the kind of bullying that existed then was very much unchecked by adults too. The kids were mostly unsupervised and could be quite brutal with one another. My mom told this hilarious story. One of her first jobs as a student teacher, she was working in San Francisco area, Berkeley, and she was working underneath a PE teacher as like a student teacher and the mentor teacher was a PE teacher. She had to work in that class for a while. Her job, literally, when she told the story, she was telling it like what an annoying job it was and how she didn't like it. But I was like, her job literally was to as the girls in the high school would get out of the showers, she had to run her hands along their bodies to make sure they were wet enough all the way. Talk about a pervert's dream job, right? Yeah, people. Okay, yeah, people got abused for sure. Jake Hurwitz. I don't remember people getting stuffed in lockers specifically, but I remember stuff like that happening. Um, it was a brutal, savage environment. If you were on the bottom, it's like I didn't really get bullied very much in high school. Or I mean, the thing is, I ended up fighting. If you fight and lose, you're fine. You don't get bullied anymore. Fighting and losing is fine. It's just cowardice that gets you continue to be bullied. So once I realized that I could lose and it was fine, because once I embraced my berserker rage, I didn't get bullied anymore. Yeah, you're not wet enough, Sally. You get back in there. Yeah. Do you need me to get in there and soap those boobs for you? I will. I'm not a big guy in the terms of strong. Like especially when I was younger, I was very skinny. I'm tall, but I'm very skinny. And but the thing is, once you make it clear that that if somebody's going to be bullying you, that you'd rather lose and do damage in a blaze of glory than put up with it, then it ceases entirely. It's like, at a certain point, if you get bullied and you want to avoid getting bullied, you have to learn to not give a fuck and go, all right, well, I'm just going to take the consequences of this, and I'm going to hit this fucker upside the head with this 2x4. We'll see how that goes. I'm pissed, so fuck off, Then all of a sudden you're liberated. Nobody wants to fuck with a damaged person who's likely to act out in incredibly violent and, now I never would act out in any kind of a violent way because I don't have to. Nobody tries to force anything on me. Only school allows that kind of shit to happen, right? It's the only environment that human beings experience where they are required to stay in the company of people who are mistreating them and have no real remedy except for prison, So it's awful. And you do end up learning to either be savage enough to protect yourself, or be a victim, especially if you're a boy. I mean, it's worse. Same for girls, but it's less physical, I guess. In fact, it's probably worse for girls. Girls are absolutely so brutal to each other, and there's no respect to be earned by fighting. That's the thing the boys have. You and I could be total enemies. You could be trying to bully the fuck out of me all the time. As soon as we have a straight up man-to-man fight, we are no longer enemies afterwards. It doesn't matter who wins. As soon as we have a fist fight. And I won't be fucked with anymore, regardless of if he wins or I win, as long as I show that I'm not going to take it. I stand my ground. He'll go to somebody who won't stand their ground, because that's what bullies do, is they say, hey, you aren't standing your ground. Does that justify bullying? No. But it's understandable why it's something ugly that you want to attack, right? You won't stand up for yourself. That's something ugly that I want to attack, is somewhat of the engine behind bullies. They're not just evil, although the things they're doing are evil, but The things they're doing are evil is because they're trying to compel without the other person's consent some sort of learning upon them that they don't want. You know, is that your way of saying you fall in love with serotonin, Nicholas? Yeah. I mean, I saw my daughter get brutalized by that girl social shit in middle school. I was fortunate. She went to the school where I taught, a private school, and she spent plenty of lunches hanging out with me in my classroom because she had been totally ostracized. I didn't know how to deal with it, but I did the best I could as a parent. But you can't force the other kids to be nice to your kid. So anyway, but of course, then at the end of middle school, we moved her from that school back into Temple City Public Schools. Turned out to be a very smart thing to do. Go get bullied over at that school over there in middle school, since you're gonna get bullied in middle school no matter what, because you're an ESTP, which means your your interface isn't good enough soon enough, right? Any action type is gonna, especially action TIFE type, is going to be awkward or unsuccessful to a certain extent at first because too much. You're too much. Tone it down. We got to learn to tone it down and stuff. Girls are made of sugar, spice, and everything nice. I, I think you could say they're made of sugar, spite, and everything right. They are very spiteful. Girls can be very, very spiteful. Um, yeah. If I were to have school to do over again, I would take this approach to bullying and stuff. I'd have with me um, something that had a legitimate use, good reason to have it, but that actually had a heavy aspect to it. There was like something you could hit somebody with. And then if somebody tried to like bully me or whatever, assuming let's say it was just verbal, I'd just say, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And then not say anything else. Let them say the thing, and then turn around and leave. And then when they weren't expecting it, I'd wait for them to like come around a corner, and I'd crack the shit out of their shin with the thing, like actually break their shin with like a metal whatever. As a kid, I'm not going to be subject to criminal penalties, um, but I would. You only have to do that once, right? And then you frame the story thereafter. You go, look, he was treating me poorly and abusing me. I informed him. I asked him, "Are you sure you want to do that?" I informed him there'd be consequences. Um, he chose to incur those consequences. So remember, everybody, if you're trying to treat me poorly and I ask you, "Are you sure you want to do that?" Think about it before answering. Okay. Well, yes. If you take 5-HTP, smoke cigs, drink coffee, although I don't think coffee has anything to do with anything, but and do 10 minutes while having pre-existing heart problems, probably that's the case. Um. But yeah, if I had to do, if like you could start over all of the school stuff and everything, knowing what you know now about how to manage your perceptions and role in the hierarchy and stuff, it um, would be cool. So, did anybody remember the question is moot? The great Saturday Night Live skit featuring Jesse Jackson. Let me see if I can find it on YouTube. I'll have to mute so I don't get copyrighted, but try to find it. Okay. Here's the link. I'm going to mute here. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to mute this. I'm going to watch it. Oh, Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson has that juxtaposition style discourse. Like, the question is moot. Under this administration, we have seen buildup of unparalleled proportions, while meanwhile, within our culture, we have seen build down amongst our people. At the top levels, we see ever more wealth accumulating. At the bottom levels, that wealth seems just to disappear. So, he always talked like that. I remember when he was Jesse Jackson for a stretch time was a serious candidate for president. It never looked like he was going to have really a chance of winning, but he formed the Rainbow Coalition, he called it. And of course, he's ultra liberal. No sane person would ever have voted for him, but whatever. I've done so much coffee that it makes me want to puke plenty of times. I had no idea that she's a billionaire from the Dreyfus Fund. No, I didn't. No, so that, I guess, makes it easier to get into show business. Hey, are you from Finland? I'm from Finland indeed. Really? Um, do you live in Helsinki? Which rhymes with smell winky. That's a winky that has an olfactory component to it. Scratch and sniff winky, you might say. How do I attract so many fans? Good question. I'm guessing that because I speak so much and use so many big words, that the quantity of consonants on my YouTube channel is more consistent with the quantity of consonants that the Finns are normally used to in their own language. That's just a working theory, but good question. The question is moot. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to play and smoke a cigarette. I'm going to play this song while I smoke a cigarette. This song that I have been listening to a lot and feeling pretty damn good about, but which I may probably should end up taking it down, doing a remix, and putting it back up again. Is Rusmus here, by the way? I wonder if Rusmus is here. I would like to, send Rusmus or somebody else, maybe, like Jeremy or somebody, all my Audacity files, and I'd love to see what Jeremy does with the mixing of it, I'm going to play this song now because I'm enamored of it at the moment. No, don't leave. Says, the tab asked me if I wanted to leave. No. God damn it, we were promised to play. I want to play, god damn it. Bodies in the street. Told me how to flatten the curve. Not overburdened healthcare's hurt. But you see, it's been underburdened. Gee, that's coming things been so exaggerated. We have been lied to. Ooh, misguided. Directed to the wrong side. Your cherry picking art is not gonna work. You don't know your stats. Your data gathering methodologies are crap. Listen here, if you're only just the sickest, what you think is gonna be the trick? COVID-19 destroy everything for the impression you bring. Stupid and scared. COVID-19 destroy everything for the impression you bring. Stupid and scared. Scared and dumb. We swallow the gum. COVID-19 destroy everything for the impression you bring. So, Väinämöinen, do you have fjords in Finland, or is that just Norway? Because I don't know if Finland normally has fjords, but I'm getting a faint sense of a fjord off of you. Like maybe you've been to a fjord recently, or you've got a little bit of fjord smeared on you. Just Norway, huh? Does Finland have bogs? Is there such a thing as a boggy fjord? Miniature fjords beside model homes. Nice. Are miniature fjords that are located at miniature golf courses? Hydrocodones. Ah, that's Vicodins. Vicodins always make me feel totally sick. Sweden bad, Finland good. Gotcha. I already know about Sweden bad. You know why they're bad? Because it let in all those refugees. Bad idea, Sweden. God. Protect what's yours, for God's sakes. Might be they're not mutually exclusive. True. Is there a lot of miniature golfing in Finland? I've been to Helsinki, by the way. Just the airport, though. I didn't get out of the airport, but I have been to the airport in Helsinki. The reason I was at the airport in Helsinki is because I was traveling to Russia, and there was a stop over in Helsinki. That was when I went to visit my friend Will, back when he lived, Will Irving, when he lived in Moscow. Now he works for Rutgers University. He lives in New Jersey. He's got a woman with a kid. He's a stepdad. He was always fun. I liked him. I wonder what type he was. Probably an INTP. Finland is more like Iceland than Iceland is like Greenland. But Greenland is more like Finland than Iceland is like Greenland. That's fair. If you combine all the three, you get Green Ice Finland. Fin Green Ice. Græsfinn. If you were to make one nation out of Greenland, Iceland, and Finland, it would be Græsfinn. You could put all those people together in one country and nobody would notice the difference. It's like Iceland, Finland, same difference. Greenland, whatever. Land is good too. That's an excellent name for a combination of Greenland, Finland, and Iceland. Lund. It's pronounced Lund, not land. Imagine your country putting refugees ahead of your own people. That's the way I think about it too. Fuck the refugees. They deal with their own problems, right? We'll deal with our problems. You deal with your problems. Over there, please. Here in the Middle East, have all the guns you want, and no bones, and no boats, and no planes. Okay? Go ahead. Kill yourselves to democracy. Just keep me out of it. You know, that's fair. We just lock down those borders around the Middle East, pump a shit ton of guns in there, but no airplanes and no boats. There. Now, fix your own problems. Hey, FI users, you direct that FI towards our problems. Problems in your actual life, not problems thousands of miles away. You're not capable of making public policy decisions anyway because you're an FI user. So just focus on shit that's in your life, please. Just stay out of politics. I can't read that Russian stuff. Airboats. They're not allowed any airboats. No. No airplanes. No boats. No especially buoyant horses, for example. No hot air balloons. Entrenching tools are fine. We can pump that region full of entrenching tools. Anti-aircraft weapons. We can give both sides all the anti-aircraft and anti-naval but land-based weapons that we want, that they can chew on. That way they can always kill the ones who are trying to get away. And once they've thinned out all the violent ones, they will have successfully responded to the selective pressures of their crazy ideology and removed those aspects of the population that are most prone towards the craziest incarnations of that ideology, and thus will become more tame over time. Right. I have no problem giving them all the blueprints they want for forts, moats, siege engines are fine. The moat question is moot. Here's the thing. I've always wanted a moat, but not for moat purposes. I just want a river around my house or through my house. Like I want to own a land that has a river on it. I could go fishing there anytime I want. I could splash and play water games at the river. The fish and I could play bridge if I'm bored any day. All right, look. We could give them hot air balloons, but if we do that, then we have to deny them hot air. As long as they don't have any hot air, we should be fine. Of course, there's always risks with trying to lock down borders. Like, I don't think people are considering the unintended consequences of Trump's Mexican border wall. What do you think we're going to end up with in about 20 or 30 years? A subset of Mexicans who are extremely good climbers. I'm picturing the year 2050. What are the trees full of? Mexicans who've been trained to climb well by the border wall. That's scary. Now that's scary. Have you ever had a Mexican jump down from a tree on top of your head and try to sell you oranges? Scary. They're not evolving. They're adapting to environmental pressures within their genome. I'm Mexican right now. I'm sometimes other races. I'm transracial. As you all know, I'm racially fluid. But I can tell now that I am Mexican, I can feel the pride of La Raza flowing through my veins. Okay. Sweden doesn't need to give charity to other people of the passion they're giving it. Absolutely, they do not need that. Sweden has indulged its FI. Let's care so much that we don't take care of things. Let's care instead of take care, right? Instead of being careful. From my perspective, it works like this. A nation has no obligation, moral or otherwise, to allow anybody who's not a citizen in the country to go to the country and live there. So our immigration policy should be focused on, you prove to us that you will benefit the country, then you can come. How about that? Why not? But they're fleeing from... Okay, so their country's fucked up. So they need to fix that then. Instead of, why is it they're coming to our country instead of fixing their fucked up country? Why? We're responsible to fix our fucked up country. Why aren't they responsible to fix theirs? You know, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, in 30 to 50 years, what you'll see is from south of the border, people increasingly have little suction cups on their fingers to improve their just naturally fleshy suction cups. Well, I will say this. I've often thought of Norway and Finland as the pinnacles of Scandinavia. Sweden as um, shitting in its own bed as fast as it possibly can, and Denmark as being mostly about wooden shoes and windmills. You know, everybody knows that Denmark's comprised mostly of wooden shoes and windmills, I think. Also, of course, there's a problem. What about the Netherlands? What is that? Why are they called the Dutch? Are they from Denmark? No, those are called the Danes. It doesn't make any sense. Where is the Netherlands? I've checked all of my nether regions and I haven't found it yet. I keep looking for the soccer team. They're pretty good. His catchphrase there is "I'm not American." Yeah, that's every American's catchphrase internationally is "I'm Canadian." Not me, of course. I'm American. Well, you don't like America? Probably I don't like the same things about it that you don't like. Probably, you know. Saying about, well, America does this. I know. That's why I need to be president. So we don't do stupid shit. I'm not in disagreement with you. The United States should be just and, you know, live up to and set a high standard for principled behavior. To the extent that it fails to do so, then to me, that represents a failure of the current incarnation of citizen democracy. What you want to call it, a republic or whatever. I don't give a fuck about that word. So don't get all nitpicky about me on it. The fact is, this is supposed to be a citizen's country. And a lot of people will make different meanings from that statement. Some people will say, yeah, corporations are there. Yeah. Some people say, yeah, wealth inequality. What I say is, yeah, checks and balances, principle, restraint, respect for individuals and rights. Why wear shoes indoors? I do wear shoes indoors. Because the floor's dirty? Well, the floor wouldn't be dirty if you wouldn't wear shoes indoors, Eric. Old habits die hard. My house was never one where we took our shoes off when we came inside. House was always clean. I would typically take my shoes off maybe in some of the carpeted rooms, but so it doesn't hurt when you step on all your guns. Like, I have no problem formally and publicly making the following argument. The reason our immigration policy towards Canada ought to be very different than our immigration policy regarding Mexicans is because the average Canadian has a lot more to offer in coming to the country. They're not generally coming to the country in order to find a means to become successful or productive. Likely, they already have that established and are coming to apply it here for one or more reasons. A lot of actors are Canadian. They end up coming to the United States because it's kind of the center of the whole entertainment business. In contrast, most Mexicans who come across the border, especially if they do so illegally, they come here because they're escaping a status quo that they're dissatisfied with regarding their country. Namely, it affords them inadequate opportunity for prosperity. And they think that they'll have a better opportunity for prosperity here. Their kids will get a better education, etc. Okay, well, in that case, the difference is clear. On the former, the person is operating as an equal with the presumed middle of this country. In the latter situation, this person is operating as a supplicant, hoping to be of service to and therefore profit from the higher standard of living in the United States. Now, sometimes that may be a good thing. There are certainly occasions when we need more cheap, under the table labor. Nothing wrong with that. The government might think there's something wrong with that because it avoids taxation and regulation, but that's not a problem as far as I'm concerned. So there's certainly times when we need an influx of cheap labor, and during those times, it doesn't hurt to have some undocumented people here. However, I also don't think that it should be a formal policy to willfully not enforce border laws so that we can have undocumented workers. I do think that there should be a general amnesty for everybody who's currently here. There's no reason to be kicking people out of the country. And that we should lock down the borders going forward so that we choose to allow in cheap labor when we want to and choose to not allow it in when we don't need it. And if you're a Mexican who's coming in here with your astrophysics degree to teach college, well, come on in. Yeah, I'm not saying just because you're Mexican don't come. I'm saying as a general reality, we got to face the fact that most immigrants from Mexico are not that. They're not astrophysicists coming in to teach college. If they are, welcome. You're going to contribute to the country and all that stuff. Not that the undocumented ones aren't contributing. I have not encountered yet a quote unquote illegal alien who doesn't work hard. They are hardworking people. They live a more noble life than I, for sure. They deserve everything that they have and get and earn here. At the same time, that's not a resource in short supply. In other words, if I'm looking for somebody with no skills but a good work ethic, well, I mean, that's not that difficult to find. I could just say, all right, let me have 100, 10,000 random applicants from Mexico who don't check any wealth or skills boxes. There you go. So the other thing is quantity of people who want to immigrate from a given place. The reason we have to treat immigration from Mexico differently than immigration from Canada, there are a lot more Mexicans want to come here than Canadians want to come here. In fact, Canada has one of the least dense populations in the world. They want people to go there to fill up the land a little bit more. I mean, I could conceivably see myself going and living in Canada at some point. I like the idea of being further north, more around trees and less around desert. Obviously, there's going to come a day, hopefully, unless I die or before, there's going to come a day when I'm no longer linked to my elderly parents because they will have both passed on. Again, unless I die before them. At that point, I'm going to have a lot of both liberty and freedom to make decisions about where I want to go, what I want to do, and so forth. Obviously, it's going to be me and Rachel. It's not just what I want to do or where I want to go. But what I'm saying is circumstances will no longer determine where we are and what we're doing at that point. Who knows how long that's going to be? When my mom passes, in theory, I could probably it depends when my mom passes. Like my dad needs me more and more just for him, not to help with mom. My dad needs me to talk to people on the phone for him because I can't hear anything. Look, when this house becomes mine, I would like to retain it, probably. It's my childhood home. There's no part of my life that I can remember when I didn't always know where home was and what that meant. And it's always been here. No matter where I lived, ultimately, at the end of the day, real home is the constancy of this home, provided by the constancy of my censor parents. And I think that would be. I mean, look, when my parents go already right then, all of a sudden there's going to be this moment of realizing, oh shit, I'm where the buck stops now. Like, what happens if I really get in trouble and have a big problem? Who do I go to? And it's like that reality is going to be ontologically very challenging for me because the reason I'm still such a kid in part is I've always known that my rock solid Rock of Gibraltar parents and their very comfortable home are always here for me if I ran into a problem. You know, getting divorced again? Okay, well, come on, you know. Yeah, and this home's always been here for me. I spent years and still to a certain extent processing the loss of my grandmother's home. When she died, my parents decided to sell it. It just made the most sense at that point, I guess. They had a lot of inheritance taxes to pay and so forth. So, uh, my grandma's house is still in my memories and in my dreams a lot. I can picture the whole home. I can picture the backyard, the pool house, the jungle, the sitting in there with my grandma watching The Price is Right and other things like that. Their bar area with all these like really old shit they had, you know, like they had stocked and got all the glassware and everything for their bar like in 1954 or something when they first moved into Arcadia. And it was just such this classic, untouched archaeological find because neither of them drank. So they had this fully stocked, fully perfectly set up. Like if you were rich and trying to live large in 1954, you had my grandma's house. You know, she had it set up like that. You know, it had all the features for 1954: a trash incinerator in the backyard, a pool house, uh, a special area to hang your laundry out to dry. That was off to the side that is like just basically a stretch of rocks for your clothesline to go over, and clotheslines that are built into the buildings, like super old school. You know, all the but old school, but really good old school. All the windows had those counterweight things, so you just barely touch them and they go up, and you just barely touch them and they go down. But it was all mechanical. There's nothing digital about anything, you know. So it was a great home, and it was such a fun home to play at when I was a little kid. Because, like a lot of times, you know, if I wasn't playing with my friends, I was playing by myself because I had no siblings, and I spent a lot of time playing pretend by myself, imagining different things, stories, and stuff. Whatever it is, Lobo Feroz, don't put it in my butt. I can only think really of one or maybe two exceptions. Uh, Number one exception being if you are Rachel and you have an Adderall pill on the tip of your finger, go ahead and boof me. That's fine. Easier on the stomach, faster acting. Good way to take drugs. Number two, if you are Rachel and we actually get around to getting a very thin drumstick, then I would like you at some point to massage my prostate with it. I'm thinking it could make it so I have to get up less often to pee in the night. I don't think I'd find it liberating at all, Lyra Fajikal. I just find it sad. I don't think I'd ever really get used to the idea that home's not home. That at the end of the day, you know, it's like this is the one place I can always go to and know it's always the same, you know? How far up the bum do you have to put a drug for it to work? Not super far, but past the anus. So, you know, you get up to like this knuckle or so, you're plenty far up. Some people die from drinking alcohol that way. For certain drunks, when their stomach is so shot from being drunk for such a long time, they drink a lot. As a full blast alcoholic, I never really drank that much alcohol because I was a lightweight. One pint of liquor, that was blackout practically. Half a pint was drunk for me. Some people would talk about like, well, I put away a fifth a day. Like, you, what? I can't even conceive of that. Butt chugging. Anyway, butt chugging is a really bad idea because that's a good way to get alcohol poisoning. Why? Because your butt will get all the drunkenness out of the alcohol all at once without you having to digest it. Your stomach gets it out a lot more slowly. So you shouldn't pour alcohol up your butt. That's not a good drug to boof. Well, the reason people do it, alcoholics will start to do it when their stomach can't handle drinking anymore. They've tore their stomach up so much that they can't even keep anything down without puking. Then they start pouring it up their butt. Right. It's true, Van and I didn't take care of eating enough before I drank. But anyway, I was lucky because while I was a big alcoholic, I never stopped being a lightweight. All the SI seeking bullshit of ignoring that your body is a system and not a state. All that SI seeking. Yeah. Ignoring your body is a system, not a state. Ignoring, right, the system, not a state, right. Like, I've learned that if I'm feeling, yeah, most of the time, the problem is not that I'm feeling yeah, is that I need to eat or that I'm thirsty. Possibly that I need to sleep. But then I don't really feel meow when I need to sleep. I feel kind of slonkers. I get increasingly slonkers when I don't sleep at all. I might get low frustration tolerance also. It could be a slow frustration. Well, I don't know how to combine those two, but sleep does induce low frustration tolerance. But the more meow feelings, the worst I feel, or the most like sad. When I get hungry, I get sad. Like the world's a bad place and everything's horrible, and then I realize I'm just hungry and low energy, and I need to eat something. Yeah, the thing is, as I've gotten older, I have a better understanding of time. Like, it used to be very easy for me to feel like, oh, those consequences I have to pay tomorrow. Tomorrow is way in the future. Now I just can't do it. Or think like, oh, that's coming up really fast. This consequences, so I'm just not going to incur them. Less than 6 hours of sleep interrupted. I don't really have a problem with sleeping though, because even though there's times when I don't sleep well, when I actually get really tired, I do sleep fine. And the best thing I can do for sleeping is to just basically stay up whenever, as much as, and however I feel like it. To extent, even when I'm really tired, trying to kind of stay awake, regardless of whether I'm on Adderall or not. Then I sleep fine when I do sleep. So I don't know, and it doesn't make me slonkers like it makes Rachel slonkers. Overactive brain is exactly right. I got up to pee after my 4 hours or so of sleep and started thinking about whatever. And I lay back down and I was like, fuck it, I'm getting up. Diamond 111. Now, in binary, of course, your diamond 7. 7. You got 1, 4, 1, 2, and 1, 1. That's 7. Yeah, STPs, they don't seem to have, I mean, they may drink a lot, but they don't seem to have a problem with it. Like Delilah, for example. My dad's worried somewhat about her having a problem with alcohol. You probably see some similarities with the way she interacts with it, the way I interact with it. But there's a big difference. Like, I can tell Delilah's not a drug addict type. She never, she'll get her Adderall prescription and it'll last her a lot longer than the amount of time it's prescribed for. Whereas mine lasts no more than half as the amount of time it's prescribed for. I mean, here's the thing, El Lobo Feroz. Even somebody who's born to drink unhealthily, like I think I was. I drank unhealthily, quote unquote, from the get-go. That doesn't mean I had problems with alcohol right away. It took a long time for my native inclination to have a problem to actually manifest as consistently a problem. I had some control and at first, and it's like I had plenty of good times and yada yada yada. However, even in retrospect, I just know that regardless, it's not time well spent. It was never time well spent. That's the fucking end of the line right there. Alcohol for me was never time well spent, even when I had a great time. It's like you're sacrificing the metaphysics for the physics, and that's never worth it from my perspective. A man's physics should always come after a man's metaphysics, 'cause it's castor oil if it's the other way around. Physics seems so short, but I know it's less pure. Yeah, it's metaphysics for me and you. I don't care about your gravity, laws of thermodynamics, 'cause those are all just physics. Don't care about your planetary motion, don't care about waves in the ocean, neither their frequency nor amplitude. I'm a metaphysical dude, and I prefer the truth over your nonsense. Don't care if you can describe just how long it'll take to arrive, provided the following assumptions. Don't care about what you did, whether or not you're kidding. I only care about fancy stuff. Fancy stuff. Do whisper shout to the tune of a copy weather, man. That's an odd request. I need to play a copy weather. sad. I gave up long ago. Was sometimes mad, but I'm rich. I'm the best. I'm the greatest. Yeah, I'm rich. I'm the best. I'm the greatest. I'm rich. I'm the best and the greatest indeed. I'm rich. Yeah, I'm the best and the greatest to see. I'm living on a time frame I will never know. Alienation and humanity, so imagining a future after the collapse. Turning to the urgency of isolated past. Yeah, thank God for now. A non-alcoholic beer is correct, a little frizz. I say that every time I crack one open and drink it. It's just like, so good. You know, when you are really thirsty for a beer, there is nothing else you can have that replaces it. And for 5 years, I didn't drink any non-alcoholic beer. I just did without it. When they came out with Heineken Zero, I said, you know what? I've been erring on the side of caution here too long. I'm going to drink non-alcoholic beer. Fuck it. And the first Heineken I had, after 5 years not having a beer, was one of the most SI mind-blowing experiences I've ever had. It was incredible. It was just like, so good. I just want to have a beer right now, in fact. It's like when you're a teenager or whatever, you don't really like beer, but you drink it because it's got alcohol in it, try to get yourself drunk or whatever. I drank enough beer that I just love beer. It's so good. So good. So good. Nicolay Shea, you get top scores for that. Okay. If this were a diving competition, what you got there was maximal difficulty plus you nailed the entry. 10. Perfect. Nicolay Shea, you deserve an award for that right there. Really, you do. I used to be addicted to crappy puns, but that phrase of my life is over. Just angels sang into your ears, that sentence, and then you wrote it here. Yeah, you deserve validation for that one. It's extremely clever. So, okay. Well, Bane Moinen, I have this stuff called Klaus Toller Dry Hopped, which is a more of a heavier one than a lager. This is the first non-alcoholic beer I had 5 years after I quit drinking. And the reason I had it was 0.0. The reason I didn't drink non-alcoholic beer before was because most of them have less than 0.5%. And I thought, well, I can't have any alcohol. Okay. So tastes like Heineken. when they came out with this 0.0, that's when I decided, okay, I'm gonna try one of those. I'm gonna have that. I can drive that. Well, since then, I've started drinking all non-alcoholic beer. It doesn't matter if it has less than 0.5% or not. The fact is, I've never met a non-alcoholic beer that got me drunk or intoxicated. So I'll drink as many of them as I want, and fuck it, I don't care if it's got a little bit of alcohol in it. That's what makes the whole thing psychological, and not a disease. It is not the case that I have a disease that causes me to suddenly start drinking if any alcohol is introduced into my system. In fact, I'm sure I consume small amounts of alcohol frequently, as most everybody does. And it never gets me to start drinking. One thing I still won't do, though, is take medicines that are suspended in alcohol, like NyQuil or something. That's the reason is because when I think about doing that, I anticipate and want the warm feeling in my stomach. That's Danger Town. Look, I used to like Belgian beers too. When I drank alcohol, my favorite beer was Chimay. I always thought that shit was the best beer I ever got regularly. Like, maybe there were some other beers out there that was like special edition beer that you could get one time. Maybe that was even better. But as far as beer goes, that I could get at the store on a regular basis, Chimay was, I thought, the best. The other one, of course, the other best is it doesn't really qualify as a beer. It really qualifies as its own thing, separate from everything else. Guinness Stout is, of course, absolutely fucking fantastic. And it's something I will never get to have again. And I will always miss it. But that's life. Black and Tan with Guinness and Harp. I'm never going to get to have that again. But yeah, Guinness is the shit. Isn't any addiction just an extension of psychological trauma? Absolutely not, Nick Lachey. Absolutely not. This was one of the big problems I've had for a long time in talking with people about addiction is everybody projects their own experience onto it. Now, for somebody like an INFP addict, like my friend Liz, or for a lot of other types, in fact, it absolutely is the case that their addiction begins as a way that they are treating some pain, some trauma, some feelings they don't want to deal with. Something. A lot of people are like that. That absolutely was never me. The only thing that I'm treating, quote unquote, is not pain or trauma. It's that I have a poor relationship with experience. So what's one way to enjoy an experience? Make sure that experience does the submersion into the experience part for you. And that's what drugs do, right? They submerge you in the experience. Drugs or alcohol. It's something that only certain kinds of intuitives are likely to need assistance with. You don't need, an ISFP doesn't need alcohol or a drug to immerse in an experience because they're always immersed in experience. That's their default nature in their way, is attending experientially to what's going on right now. For people like me who have trouble getting lost in the moment, letting go of the ghost. You can think about it in terms of those people who go to those churches where they get worked up into a frenzy such that they fall on the floor and start talking in tongues. Habidi yabidi yabidi ya, And it's a group ghost releasing exercise. This expression that we have in English called giving up the ghost. To give up the ghost is to release your driver and your decision maker and your questioner and stuff. Release all of those constraints on self that would prevent you from being completely immersed in an experience that presumably is safe in its boundaries. So you might see that in terms of dancing. It doesn't matter how weirdly I dance, how awkward I look dancing, or how wildly I dancing, or how chill I dance. If I'm at a rave and on drugs and not paying attention to how I'm being perceived, but really just engaging in the physical experience of dancing to the music and not caring, my eyes closed, not even thinking about anybody else being anywhere. In that case, you're talking about being fully immersed in the experience of moving your body to music. And that's giving up the ghost. When I'm jamming out, sometimes improvising, and it's flowing like straight from God. I'm just a conduit. Goes God, conduit, out my fingers and mouth. It happens occasionally where it's just I'm just feeling it and in a trance state. It's giving up the ghost. Alcohol is a shortcut to giving up the ghost, but you're not really giving it up. You're making a deal with the drug to obscure it. Churches are like AA meetings and no one graduates. Yes. Well, presumably, if you are a churchgoer, then you have positioned it as a maintenance kind of a thing. SI framing people see themselves as animals that need maintenance. And they understand that the power of going to bed, tomorrow's a new day. I've noticed this something Rachel is learning and is starting to internalize a bit, that the process of catastrophizing runs counter to. Namely that go to bed, have a big meal, go to sleep, get a good night's sleep, you feel a lot better in the morning. This is an SI truth that is a powerful one. And you'll see things a lot differently in the morning. As an NE truth combined with an SI truth, it's a powerful one. If you're an NI user and you're really catastrophizing about your NI truth that you're holding front and forward in your consciousness, you're not factoring in that tomorrow morning you're going to feel different and it's going to be a different day. You have different possibilities. So it's like AA, for example. If I were more of an SI type, I'd still go to AA. I'd buy into their basic claim that alcoholism is something that you need to maintain over time the treatment for, and that treatment is continue to reinforce these narratives that we enforce in you, instill in you, and reinforce in you in Alcoholics Anonymous. The narrative work done in AA is somewhat haphazard because it's done by all the people who are in AA, and some of them are more or less on board with the basic structure of the narrative rules. What is Alcoholics Anonymous? It's a storytelling rule book. It's a group story. It's rule-based group storytelling. And there are certain key themes that are supposed to be echoed again and again. If you echo those themes, you gain points in the storytelling game we're playing here. And since everybody wants points, then people start to go for the narrative bits that they're telling, right? The thing is, I actually didn't need and knew I didn't need, and although, it took me a while to sort of accept it, but I knew I wasn't going to be a long time person going to AA meetings for long years or whatever. Because ultimately, for me, it's an NI question, not an SI question. I can no more not drink by managing my day-to-day maintenance of self any more than I can drink by managing my day-to-day maintenance of self. I need to have a firm, unwavering, certain frame that I cut off all possible wavering from via assorted TI tools. Okay, I cannot wiggle from this rule. And here's why. I've taken everything I needed to take from AA, and I no longer need to go to those meetings because it's not an SI thing for me anymore. It's an NI thing. Some skills I had to learn there, such as the skill of faith-based behavior and the ability to decouple it from advocacies, affirmations, and beliefs. I guess, well, you said not the ability, but the understanding that it's best manifest or most clearly and correctly manifest when decoupled from affirmations or negations. How does an ENTP befriend their SI and SE? I'm doing a better job of befriending my SI the older I get. Here's an example. Last night, before we went to bed, we've been talking about, Rachel and I are developing our own sleep hygiene program here. And it's not sleep hygiene as normally described. Normally, sleep hygiene is described as go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time, follow the same routines. Blah, blah, blah. That's terrible sleep hygiene for me and Rachel. It's terrible advice. Here's an example of good sleep hygiene. Okay, Rachel, we're about to go to bed. So here's what I want us to do. Let's eat our leftover sandwiches right now before we go to bed so we're nice and full. And then you sleep in there with the air conditioning, where make it really cold because we sleep better when it's cold and we're full. That's good sleep hygiene. No, it pays no attention to what time we're going to bed. We ended up going to bed like 12:30 last night or something. Some nights we go to bed at 9:30. Some nights 3 in the morning. It doesn't matter as long as she's getting her full 8 to 9 hours of sleep. And since our schedules are very flexible, we can do that. We're lucky like that. That's good sleep hygiene for a couple of intuitives. Good SI hygiene in general for a couple of intuitives like me and Rachel is completely unpredictable. If you were to try to make a schedule of when Rachel and Eric are likely to do meow, or when Eric's likely to do meow, or Rachel's likely to do meow, there's no way you could win that game because we're haphazard all over the place. The other thing is, every time I think I have it figured out and I'm willing to assign a status to it, like, okay, yep, now I know. I'm somebody who has no problem sleeping with the lights on. Light doesn't bother me. Well, then the next time I go to sleep and the light's on, I'm going to go, maybe it does bother me, though. Maybe I was too quick to that. I use this as an example of one that I actually haven't done that about. I've been telling Rachel, and I'm telling myself as well, and agreeing with myself about this, that I seem to sleep better a lot of times with the light on. So instead of doing what Rachel did last night, just come out here, blast the air conditioning, turn off all the lights, make sure it's nice and dark, do it to get to sleep. If I can't sleep, I'll often come out here, turn on one of the lights, and then I'll sleep better. But I guess the reason I don't feel like I'm at risk of doing that, as soon as I decide a rule, it's no longer the rule for some reason. No matter how long I wait to decide it, like, yeah, I seem to do this every single time. Yeah, I'm always doing this. Okay, so I'm somebody who always does this. The next time I won't do it that way. Guaranteed. Doesn't matter how fucking long I take to set up the rule in advance. You know the itch? Are you talking about alcohol all over for us? But here's the thing, I bet you, and this thing you got to remember, prepare yourself for the following SI reality. When you want to drink and you don't, check back with yourself like an hour later, and you're going to realize, oh yeah, now I'm getting ready for bed, and God, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with the fact that I'm not me right now. If I were 4 beers in right now, I wouldn't be washing these dishes. I wouldn't be reading this book. I wouldn't be comfortable and at peace. I'd be, I guess, awash rather than at peace. There's something extremely civilized about separate bedrooms. And, the other thing is something Rachel's getting accustomed to is that it's safe to get rid of all of her heuristics. We all come into relationships with certain heuristics, rules that we think mean things that they don't necessarily mean. Like, wow, I mean, if my husband didn't sleep in the same bed with me, I'd be appalled. And she's probably heard that kind of rule before. She's got a certain amount of that kind of thinking coming in, but she's learning that, no, we can be particularist. We don't have to, we shouldn't and don't have to make decisions about these things based on our rules or of our statuses about ourselves. We can and should actually just look at the direct experiential particularist data about us instead of worrying about what people like us do. How about what we do? Just actual us instead of people like us. Anti-doms are always have this continual tendency to, instead of talking about you, to talk about people like you, and instead of this thing that you're doing, they're talking about things like that you're doing right there. This is the NI way of departicularizing things. Look, take the chance, Ella Froze, to enjoy that post rejecting alcohol moment, because those are the happy moments. What I've come to understand now is it's still the case. Let's say I go out to dinner with some group of people and everybody has getting a glass of wine. It's still the case that I want one too, until everybody's had a few sips of it. And at which point it just takes a couple of sips of everybody else having a couple of sips for me to realize, I'm glad I'm not doing that. Really? So did I ever look at your letter? I don't know. Well, just remember, like, the reason that in a little while I'm going to end the stream and I'll do something else. Maybe I'll put the laundry away, for example. The reason that's going to happen is because I didn't decide to have a real beer right now. Otherwise, that wouldn't happen. The pleasant activity I'm going to enjoy later wouldn't exist if I had chosen to have a real beer right now. And that's something I keep reminding myself of. All these things that I enjoy so much, it would not exist if I chose to have a real beer. Because it's like all of a sudden then I'm back into something where I have to be SI maintenance. I hate SI maintenance stuff, especially if it's regular. I want to go with my inclinations. I want to shower when I'm irritated. I want to sleep when I'm slonkers. I want to eat when I'm hangry. I don't want to, and I go like this. I go like, hey, I'm doing great. I'm not hungry. I haven't had any breakfast, but I'm fine. And then like that for hours, and then it goes like, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I'm sorry. It's like I have fine, and then hungry, starving in really quick succession. So it's I can't even by in the morning. I can't even begin to schedule that shit. I have to wait for my body to tell me. And then aspiring sex addict. Bye, Nikolai Shea. And I want to stress everybody here, for those who have not heard it before, you do not have to tell me when you are leaving. I don't consider it some sort of social nicety that I even appreciate necessarily or don't appreciate. I'm just saying, when I first started this channel and streaming and hanging out in the bar rooms and stuff, the motto was no expectations, no obligations, no stems, no seeds, no stress. So I appreciate you letting me know. Please don't feel any obligation to do so. I'm not going to be offended if you just disappear. That's part and parcel of this medium. It's what makes it cool, right? What makes this place so cool, it's a party you can go to, show up, be the life of a party for 10 minutes, and then abruptly ghost, and that's it. And you're back home again. And you don't have to drive anywhere, and you don't have to feel obligated to go and say goodbye to everybody. And it's like every third is very selfish. So I willfully tried to set shit up like that in the beginning because I don't want to feel obligated to greet everybody, for example. People come in, I'm in the middle of ranting about something, and like Julie, let's say, comes in and goes, "Hi, host Eric." I'm just going to ignore that because I'm in the middle of ranting. And I might remember when I'm done ranting to say hi to her, or I might not. If you're going to get offended by that, it's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. This is an environment that tries to let everybody have infinite mistake freedom in that area so that we don't have to worry about little banalities. Are you sweating? Are you sweating because you're sweating out your booze and stuff? You know what you should do? You should do jazzercise. Have you ever jazzercised before all over Feroz? It's one of the greatest ways to sculpt those abs, to get cardio, to and just have fun. Just go out there and have fun. Just have fun with it, girls. Okay? What we're gonna do today? We're not gonna take this so seriously. We're just gonna have fun with this today. Okay? We're gonna have fun with it. It's gonna be wonderful. All right, let's see. We're gonna jazzercise today. Now listen, I've got one key instruction for everybody here, okay? If you want to know what my rule is for this class, in this classroom, my students, it's very straightforward. My rule is shut your fucking face and jazzercise, okay? That's my rule. So everybody here, just shut your fucking face and jazzercise. Can you help me? Wow. I'm looking for a class. What? What you should do? Take jazzercise class. Go get the jazzercise class. Oh yeah, you're gonna learn about a lot of jazzercise class. You're gonna jazzercise class is the class for you. I'll tell you. Jazzercise. Swift Eagle, you could use a jazzercise class. Really shake out the malaise, right? Okay. Check your fucking face and jazzercise. Oh yeah. Gonna force you to jazzercise all day long. Shake your ass all jazzercise, motherfucker. Forced jazzercise. That's what you need, Swifty. You need some forced jazzercise. Okay, well, maybe I'll take jazzercise class then. So the jazzercise video that I made, that was actually me doing what Kimberly suggested. She wanted me to make a video like that, to take clips of various things and put them together. And I said, yeah, okay, why not? Seems like a fine enough idea. I don't hate that video, but it seems uncreative to me. I do love Jazzercision, though. I attained fitness through jazzercision. Oh, you're welcome, El Lobo Feroz. Thank you for. I mean, I should say the same thing. I should say that to the other people here. Thank you for creating this community. I I started the YouTube channel. There were a lot of times when I would sit in the what I called the raw room at the time, and I put an announcement up. If you want to talk to me, or you're willing to let me interview you, or whatever, I'm in this room right now. I just sit there and nobody would show up for a long time. So it required good territory map management on my part. It required that I go into those things with the explicit expectation that I might just sit here and nobody show up. So I start doing something else while I was sitting in that room waiting. Sometimes people would show up, sometimes they wouldn't. But this is maintenance for me. This is ontological maintenance. I am not okay when I don't live stream enough. I need to talk everything out. I need to hear the people here talk to me. It's like people here are really nice to me, or they're extremely hateful to me. One of the two. Depends. So the hateful ones don't bother me. I have totally learned. I am basically immune to nasty comments and shit. At this point, so that's great. I'll still get dragged into responding to them sometimes, as I did earlier. Somebody put a comment that quote unquote pissed me off, not that much, but a little bit, and I had to. Well, I guess you could say I had to meow the meow. That would be a fair way to put it. I had to put a comment there saying, I don't do a whole lot of comments anymore, but periodically I'll go through them a little bit and try to, I don't get the dolls. I just picked random pictures to put there. The images are largely random, or rather, not topically related to the video, but rather serving simply as a platform for the lyrics, for the tablet. What's it called? Canvas. The question is moot. Yes, if property then the woman has the exclusive property rights to any life conceived as a consequence of any fetus, whatever you want to call it. Might be conceived as a consequence of that rights violation. Obviously, a rapist cannot claim to own something by virtue of having trespassed so as to do the work on your property non-consensually. While that work typically afford co-ownership rights, since it requires two parties, it's a two-person job. It's not the case that both parties have ownership rights in instances where one party did their portion of the work at gunpoint. It's fair to say that the forced labor affords ownership, while the forcing of labor precludes it. Forced ownership of the work product one forced into labor. Forced labor affords ownership of the work product to the one forced. While the forcing of labor precludes ownership by the one doing the forcing. In other words, no legitimate homesteading has occurred, so Lockean principles of initial acquisition don't apply. Good question. Excellent observation, comment, question. Thank you for pointing out something I'd heretofore not considered. Aspects of the property frame. There. So let me read what this comment says. So anyway, what this lady said was, "Hello, I am a lady." She said, "Hi, Eric. This is Curious Kyra." Says, "Hi, Eric. I can see your point regarding abortion. I don't entirely know where I stand on this topic, so I'm not entirely sympathetic or unsympathetic to your point. Confusion arises, though, pertaining to instances where rape or sexual assault is involved. Wouldn't the woman have a right to an abortion in this case, especially considering the conception was not consensual?" Well, my point is that yes, if we use the property frame, Under the property frame, of course, remember abortion is acceptable, but both parties who are responsible for creating the property have to consent to the abortion. In other words, you can't destroy a baby that I own half of, or whatever you want to call it, a fetus or whatever. So my response here is yes. If viewed as property, then the woman has the exclusive property rights to any fetus, embryo, etc., which might be conceived as a consequence of that rights violation. Obviously, a rapist cannot claim to own something by virtue of having trespassed so as to do the work on your property non-consensually. While the work might typically, while that kind of work add to dictionary. While that kind of work might typically afford co-ownership rights, since it's a two-person job, um, while that kind of work might typically afford co-ownership rights, since it's a two-person job, it's not the case that both parties have ownership rights in instances where one party did their portion of the work at gunpoint. It's fair to say that the forced labor affords ownership of the work product to the one that forced, while the forcing of labor precludes it ownership by the one who's doing the forcing. In other words, no legitimate homesteading can occur under the frame of a rights violation. Um, as a rights violation. The Lockean principles of initial acquisition don't apply in instances of rape, even because even when we frame even when we do frame the question as entirely one about property. Of course, the thing is, I don't view fetus, embryos, and such as property. I don't think it's appropriate. I view them as people, human beings. The thing is, to view it as property, say, okay, well, let's do the property question. I don't, my argument. People say such fucking stupid shit. It's incredible the stupidity that people have. Like the false statements. Okay, fine. What is it? No. Yeah, that. I'm gonna meow meow. I'm gonna meow meow. I'm going to meow meow. Meow meow. What is this?
I have more intuitive. Like, I know people here. Oprah is an ENFJ. She's not an INFJ.
Okay, so what was I talking about? Something or another. And I forgot what I was talking about. I should take down the I should take down a typo. You know, some video that gets so much grief from people about them because, you know, one vodka plus 3 vodka equals 4 vodka. Goodbye, Lyrophagical. Lyrophagical's asking me what? Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. I might do that pretty soon. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna split hockey like a mushroom. You want kids? I would recommend you don't do it the way I did it. You see, what I did is I married the first woman with childbearing hips who would sleep with me after about 4 years of what do you call them again? Incels. I've been being an incel. And in fact, she did pop that kid right out. She did have the childbearing hips. Delilah just flew right out of that womb, just dove onto the delivery table. But that marriage didn't last. It ultimately turned out a fine way to do it, though. I got custody of the kid, and you know, it equaled 8 vodka because you need to drink that much more. I see. Kimberly had hips, I suppose, but she was beyond childbearing years. No, Alobafur's dyscalculia is getting Dracula backwards, actually. It's a little bit different. So, yeah, I'm going to leave this stream now. No, my shirt did not change. My shirt did not change. My shirt did not change. I remember what my friend Dave Porter's art teacher told him once in Pasadena City College. Repetition is a form of change. Mind blown yet? Yeah, your perception changed. The best change again as I end this stream. Goodbye, everybody. I love you, but I have to go.